For months now, the war of words between Beijing and Canberra has been heating up. Claims and counterclaims of espionage, cyber hacking and interference in our politics. Increasing trade tensions.
Still reeling from China's decision to slap crippling tariffs on Australia's barley exports.
And now, today, a muscling up of our language about our preparedness for armed conflict in our own region, with only the most thinly disguised references to the fact that it is China's increasingly assertive stance that has prompted this change.
Tensions over territorial claims are rising across the Indo-Pacific region, as we have seen recently on the disputed border between India and China, in the South China Sea, and the East China Sea.
The strategy released today does not involve a huge increase in the overall defence budget, but a big change in what the $270 billion will be spent on over 10 years.
It was in some ways inevitable that the Australian government would try to turn the Australian military into a force that is capable of actually fighting wars in our region.
More money, about $15 billion more, will be spent over the next few years arming Australian fighter jets, the Navy and Army with long-range missiles, rather than new heavy lift aircraft and aerial tankers in 10 years' time.
Most Australians would not know that most of the time Australia has barely days or perhaps a week's worth of munitions and indeed fuel as well for military purposes located on its territory.
The changed strategic environment is not entirely due to China, of course.
Relations between China and the United States are fractious at best. But it's important to acknowledge that they are not the only actors of consequence. The rest of the world and Australia are not just bystanders to this.
Our revised defence strategy is still built on the back of the US alliance, but takes more steps towards self-reliance in a couple of key areas: space and surveillance.
Australia having the independent ability to target and track foreign warships and aircraft in the Pacific is again a big deal for Australia's sovereign capabilities, Australia's national interests. It's a contribution to the US alliance, but it's also Australia being able to act alone if it has to.
But there remain questions about exactly where the strategy takes us. The first new missiles, bought at a cost of $800 million, will be used on the FA-18 Super Hornets.
This would extend the strike range of those aircraft by a few hundred kilometres. It's conceivable that Australian strike would be deployed in places like the South China Sea, the Indian Ocean, the South Pacific.
China's growing belligerence does lead to an argument for building up our defence capability. But the measures announced today fall a long way short of putting Australia on an equal footing, even as we seem to be squaring up to the neighbourhood bully. And at home, some may find the optics of spending so many billions of dollars during the biggest downturn since the Great Depression rather jarring at a time we are told we can't afford to continue wage subsidies or maintain unemployment benefits above the poverty line beyond September.
Hi, I'm Lee Sales. Thanks for watching this story. If you'd like to watch more of 7:30's stories, they are on the left of your screen. And tap on the button below to subscribe and get the latest from ABC News.